me, has everyone had an opportunity to sign in?
They have.
Good deal. Ms. Crystal is on the ball. Thank you so much. Any first-time attendees? Don't be shy. All right. You shouldn't have raised your hand. Made a mistake. What we'd like to do is just honor you guys real briefly. Just, you don't have to stand up, who you are, you know, how you heard about us, if you came with someone, you know, if you're involved in real estate or hoping to get involved, is kind of where you're at and what you're hoping to get from this. That way we'll know how we can better serve you. Mr. Jordan, do you mind starting us off?
Yeah, Jordan Pearson by trade. I'm a civil engineer. Came with Jared. He's been here a few years, and he's trying to get me involved.
Okay, man, we're glad to have you, brother.
Glad to be here.
Mr. Brooks, you've been here before, or have you?
No, I was just over at the other one.
Yeah.
But I'm Joe Brooks. I just moved here from San Antonio, and I blame Lee for posting and getting me to come over here. But
Everything's his fault, man.
yeah, there you go. I heard he was running away from all the blame.
Well, I understand.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do pretty much whatever I can in real estate, so love to meet all of y'all.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Mr. Taylor, y'all been here several times, haven't you?
Actually, technically my first time. The first time I snuck in, I was still working in the casino business.
I got you.
And stuck my head in, so I'm actually a wholesaler.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, we are glad to have you.
New
Love
fixings,
wholesalers.
Yep.
Love from wholesalers. Yes. You guys?
Yeah, my name's Paul Kelly, and this is my wife Liz Kelly. We just getting into it, we're trying to find out more about potentially getting into the rental real estate business.
Well,
Here to learn. The way I found out about you guys is doing research, trying to figure out where can I go to find out about property managers, what's a good deal and what's not a good deal,
Yeah.
and this organization popped up.
yeah. So you found us online then? or-
Found it
Yeah.
on your
Well, that's good to know. Thank you. We're glad to have y'all. This is a great group to be associated with. A lot of people in here are very seasoned. So you're in the right place. Glad to have y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lakeisha Cooper. I am a curriculum consultant during the day, and I am from Mansfield, Louisiana. Have already started, have some rentals there, so that's where I started. Would like to expand into Shreveport, Bossier. I'm gonna blame Lee as well
Everything's his fault. No.
for getting me here. I talked to him, I think maybe last week, and he suggested that I come and check it out, so here I am.
Well, Ms. Cooper, we're glad to have you. Even though you're a Wolverine from Mansfield, you all
There
right.
you go. All right.
Glad to have you. Yes, ma'am.
Are you looking?
Yes, ma'am.
Kathleen
Yes,
Crockett.
Kathleen.
Yeah, this is my first time here. Well, obviously, I guess. I joined a nationwide investing group, mentorship, and they said, hey, find your local group. So I just did a search and found this local group, and I want to start with fix and flips. But I have big dreams, big plans after that. So
Yes.
it's just my starting point.
It's a great model. After the event, I'll share a formula with you on fix and flips, and you can build an entire business on this formula.
Okay.
So that's a great model.
I'm Angela Hacker, and just kind of interested in kind of getting started and figuring out where to go and what to do. And Christine mentioned coming here, and she's a friend of mine, so that's how I got here.
Well, you're guilty by association already. Guilty by association. Brother Lewis, Halton High School.
Yes, sir.
Come on.
My name is Louis Watkins. Like I said, I'm from Halton. I'm brand new to real estate. I'm in transportation. I've been in transportation for 15 years. I want to pick up any information that I can get and just get started in this real estate game.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. That's great.
What's up, guys? I'm Elijah Parnley, and I run a roofing company. I got a sales team under me. We got 5 guys. We try to do 3 or 4 roofs a week. And then I also just got my real estate license, and I joined Team Lytle of Berkshire Hathaway, actually with Miss Pat, and actually my client accepted an offer, and I'm closing on my first house today. And
Congrats, man. You're with a very reputable firm, very reputable team. And in this room, there's probably 300, 400, 500 roofs in this room.
I got cards for everybody.
I just happen to have 300 or 400 cards in my pocket. Who else we got? Miss Teresa?
Oh, I'm Teresa Vondazelski. I'm Lee's aunt, so that's why I'm here tonight. He invited me, but I'm also just getting started in some rentals. I have very few. I've done one flip, I have one rental, and I'm closing on my second one on Friday. It's all
You're gonna go, you're off and moving.
well, I hope so.
Did we leave any first-time attendees out?
I forgot to mention my wife.
You're sweet bride. I'm sorry, Miss Pat.
No, I thought these two forgot their wives.
Yeah.
Do this business and you don't introduce them, how do you? She took our previous, good one.
Next on the agenda, guys, we're going to pass out. If you need one, raise your hand. Buy, sell, trade sheet. And Ms. Nancy, would you kind of tell them what the buy, sell, trade sheet is? And then we're going to give it to you now to fill out. And in a minute, we'll give you an opportunity to stand up and present if you have something.
Sure. I've been around the room. I might have missed the odd person or two, but after my report of the minutes from the board meeting and other miscellaneous things, anyone who completes this form will have about 30 seconds to do a song and dance about anything they're buying, selling, or trading. As an example, you got no bookshelf, you need somebody to haul it off, you can offer it for free and you can get it hauled off, I'm sure. I get lots of folks who are looking for properties or looking to sell properties, and also renters. They're looking for renters. So it is a benefit of membership. So I would encourage anybody who's here tonight as a guest, please sign up and then we'll help you buying, selling, or trading.
Does anyone need a blank buy, sell, trade sheet? You got something you want to buy, sell? Ms. Taylor, I'm sure you probably want to trade in, Mr. Taylor, because it didn't introduce you. That's really not what this is for, so we'll catch you next time. And he's a pretty good guy, though.
Yeah.
He Anybody else need a buy, sell, trade? We'll give you all a few minutes to fill those out. We'll come back to them in a second. Secretary's report. As long as you're standing, Ms. Nancy, stay standing.
So the board met on Thursday, and I'll just run through just a few of the items that are up for discussion. On behalf of the board, Roger reached out to our VP, Rachel Fleming, and due to scheduling conflict, she's offered her resignation. So I know Roger's going to talk about that in a bit. Terry, who is our go-to for speakers and different opportunities for the organization, presented some information from Equity Trust. And the board has a goal of bringing in 2 national speakers per year. We've had some great speakers and we've done some workshops. And so Equity Trust is offering to do some webinars for us as well. Terry, do you want to go over it?
I will, but I'll let you finish and then.
Okay, we'll move on. Crystal was at the meeting as well, and she confirmed that if you are a new member, your membership dues will be prorated. But if you are an existing member or a former member, you get to pay the whole $120 for the year. And she's very happy to collect any checks or credit cards on that one as well. Not credit cards tonight? Okay.
If I need to resend, just clarify, if I need to resend your invoice to your email, I'm happy to do that. But I think I've gotten those handled as they came in and signed in.
Checks go to Crystal, cash comes to me, okay?
We accepted the resignation of Dolores Smith, who is a longtime, very valuable member. She resigned from the board. And in her place, we have Pat Presley. Pat, stand up. We're extremely happy to have Pat join us on the board. It's always great to have new blood because with that you get new ideas, new suggestions, and we are always on the lookout for that. And I'm going to segue to a decision the board made, and we don't have it here tonight, but we're going to put a suggestion box out because some of the members felt that we are not getting enough feedback from our members, and perhaps the reason is they don't want to stand up or even give the information to any of the board members. So we're going to have a box at the next meeting, put in suggestions for speakers, suggestions for topics, complaints, and questions. We're very happy to address it. Again, we're always looking for help as your board. Crystal presented the financials. If anybody wants to view a copy, Crystal, no, I have a copy with me, so see me after the meeting and I'd be happy to show you the numbers. And then, hang on one second. Oh, Terry also brought in, and do you want to talk about this, that wonderful Dallas summary?
No, I'll talk about that later.
Okay, that's fine. So that's about it for the minutes. Shall we do buy, sell, or trade?
Yeah, then might as well. It's a
Okay. Pat, did you have a buy, sell, or trade?
No, I gave out the receipt.
Okay, put your hand up, Terry, buy, sell, or trade.
Okay, I have a buy, sell, or trade. Gas stove, washer, and dryer. We know the gas stove works. We're not sure about the washer dryer. Gas stove, good shape, all that kind of stuff, $150. Unfortunately, it's in Monroe. So, you can see me afterwards, I can give you my telephone number or whatever, you know, but I can tell you from experience, because I just went all over town looking for a gas stove, they are hard to find here in Shreveport. Thank you.
Okay, who's next with the buy, sell, or trade?
I actually have an assignment contract that's going to be coming up. This is on a home. I have been working a year with this family, following up with this year. They have a pretty tough situation, very private situation, so I definitely want to respect that. But it will be an assignment contract. If you want to look up the address, it's 333 Green Acres Boulevard. I got the contract out with the mobile notary down in over in Alabama, so getting all that put together, but that'll be coming up soon. So.
Okay, how about your name and phone number?
Oh, I apologize. Larry Cleveland. Cleveland like the city, like the place where LeBron used to play. Come on. But a good phone number for me is 850-612-1383. Again, that's 850-612-1383.
And guys, this is a quality home. This is in Green Acres Place, corner lot, 4-bedroom, brick house.
Did he say?
Needs a little bit of work.
There's a flyer. I brought 2 tonight, so it's floating around.
This is a very nice home.
Do we have a price range, ballpark?
Price range.
Like that? Did you see that?
Yay!
Felt like Spider-Man for a second there. But so I got it asking price at $187. ARV on it is $270. Probably more.
Nice home. Thank you,
All
Larry.
right, who's next on the buy, sell, or trade?
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing? All right, I have an assignment of contract. I do have a property package deal, 3 properties, okay? In B plus neighborhoods. One is a 4-bedroom. Can't tell you the address right now because I ain't got it in front of me.
I got you.
But but one 4-bedroom, the other 2 are 2, and 3 bedrooms. I'm sorry, 3 2s, and we'll make great rentals. Okay, great rentals for a starting family to get started. So B plus neighborhoods. We're asking about starting at $350. Okay, sounds good.
$350 for the package.
$350 for the package.
Can we have your name and telephone number?
Yeah, my name is Glenn Taylor. Okay, Glenn. Everybody call me G.
What up, G?
Yes, just make it look personal. Call me G, phone number 318-404-8526. If you'd like to see it, I'd love to shoot you our video walkthrough.
And about what area are we talking about?
So we
Is it
talked with
Shreveport,
Shreveport, all in Shreveport, North Highlands, others on Simmons Boulevard, that's what is the Southern Hills, and the other one is close to Cross Lake.
Oh, yeah.
North, yeah.
So 350 divided by 3, that's 116,000, 67.67 average.
And confusing the number guy.
That's some nice assets up there, man.
Okay, who's next on the buy-seller trade? We're done? All right, I have one myself. I have an Airbnb in Hot Springs Village. It's a 3-2, and it's a bungalow, so it's level floors, no stairs. It's got a wooded backyard, and it's by 9 golf courses and a bunch of lakes, and it's really pretty property. If anybody's interested, I've got a card where you can give me a call and book direct.
Okay, so you're not selling it, you're just looking for bookings.
I was Airbnb. No, I'm not selling it. It's an Airbnb, so.
Angela, you just missed out. You were just in Hot Springs this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy Nelson. Next is our treasurer's report.
The treasurer did not give me his treasurer's report. When he told me I needed to come cover for him.
I have a copy if you want
So,
it.
that'd be great. We do have 33 paid members as of tonight. This is our newest paid member right here, just joined and paid. So, if anybody needs a membership application, we do have them up here. I will bring one to you in just a minute. Okay. All right. So, this is strictly for 2022. Right now we've collected, this is through February 28th, so anything that came in March is not included here. But we've collected $21.96 in dues. We have had $615 in fees, expenses, which includes, credit card processing, our Intuit fee, Zoom, Google, and we printed some membership cards. So our net income for January and February is $1,581.67.
Very good. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go with me. Next, real briefly, I'm going to save you. Well, come on up, Miss Terry. Miss Terry, does anybody in here have an IRA? IRAs. Self-directed IRAs are good because you can direct where you want your money to go. And there are several big companies within the United States, and one that I think is the best is Equity Trust. Terry's got some information on Equity Trust in case you have an IRA or want to open one.
Right. Well, I just wanted to share some information with y'all. You know that our dues have gone up. They've gone from $1 a week, I think it was, to $50, right? As Roger says, $1 a week. But they've gone up now, and it's $10 a month. What do you get for your money? Right? So that's $120, okay? You're not going to just throw it out the window. But you know that SBREIA has been working very, very hard, and we have to thank Chad Garland because we've attained nonprofit status. With that, we can affiliate with a national organization. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means, and I'm going to pass some of these out, just take one, and some of the benefits are, number one, I belong to the Philadelphia, it's called Diversified Investors Group. I moved here from Philadelphia. I still go when I'm there, and I get a 20% discount on paint at Home Depot. Well, we just did a 7-unit complex. You can imagine the amount of money that we have saved. You also get, there's Arcana. Now, I haven't looked into this yet, but they offer the national organization members insurance products. Well, everybody's insurance is going up, so I'm gonna look into that for our properties. But Office Depot, you can't imagine, I mean, I don't wanna tell you what I'm paying for laser cartridges, a lot less than what you're paying. So you've got Build a Sign, you've got Constant Contact, you've got foreclosure.com, you've got, as I said, Home Depot, you've got Equity Trust, I'm gonna come back to that. Odor Exit, I see on the I see on the page, the Facebook page all the time. What do? I had a possum get up into the house. This is a house in Alexandria that I owned, and fall down in between the walls. Can you imagine the smell? Called up Odor Exit. They told me what to get, and we got rid of it. And then Angela and I had a property in Farmerville. The Farmerville with all of the mothballs. They thought mothballs would keep the snakes away. Mothballs don't keep snakes away, but they sure do leave a smell. Okay, so we got rid of that. So Odor Exit is 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I'm not going to read all of them, but there are actually 19 listed discounts here that you can get. So that's partially what you get for your membership, but you also, when you check out the National REIA site, you find out what legislation is going on nationally, you know, and if you go to nationalrea.org, you can look at that yourself. But as Roger said, we want to, and we've done this in the past, we've brought in national speakers. We want to bring in more national speakers. We brought in, our goal then was 2 a year, but we've had Dixie Decker, who's an expert on student housing. We've had Alan Hope Johnson, president of Hope Housing Foundation, Robin Thompson, you know, creating massive passive wealth, Mark Pantek. We've had Equity Trust come a couple of times. And what I wanted to share with you really quickly, because it's coming up next April, and I know we all want to hear Lee's story, so I don't want to take up too much of his time. But Equity Trust is going to be offering 2 courses online, and it's going to be Wednesday, April 6th. I'm going to send out an email about this. This is just an education-only seminar, and they're going to cover rental, real estate joint ventures, master lease agreements, and self-directed IRAs. Okay, and that's April 6th at 5 p.m. Central Time. And I will send this out, so if you signed up with your email, there'll be a unique code that you'll have to put in order to access it. Okay, so on April 13th, both of these are Wednesdays, at 6 p.m. Central Time, there's a webinar that's an educational product that's, it's going to include, they're going to go over a lot of things, but at the end, and I want to be quite honest with you, at the end they're going to sell something, right? I've been doing private lending for probably 12 years. I'm signing up for it because there's a lot of stuff that they're going to cover in that. They're going to have 14 core modules, 5 trainings. They're going to have training manuals, how to structure an LLC / trust, lending notes, how to set up a blocker corporation, sample equity participation agreements, a lot of how-tos, actual how-tos. It's beyond that, what can I do with a self-directed IRA thing that, you know, and we've had Equity Trust here a couple of times, you know, so the course includes 14 hours of training videos, but if you don't want to buy the package, sign up and listen to what they have to say for free, because I think wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can always learn something more. And like I said, I've been doing this 12, maybe 14 years now, and God only knows I don't know everything. So I wanted to share that with you. If you have any questions, I think that this is a wonderful organization because what you have is you have some older experienced people and you have some older inexperienced as well as younger inexperienced people, and this is the education arm of the REIA. Basically, we're here to help you and to mentor you and to help you reach your goals. So When I first came here, I moved here from Philadelphia, and I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I found this group, and I've been very pleased with it. So those of you who are brand new, I hope you do decide to join and come along with us. But make sure that you have given us your email, because I will definitely send out those links to you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. Terry Olivier. Hey guys, listen, let me encourage you something when it comes to equity trust. Even if you're not an IRA holder or need the services of a self-directed IRA, probably 90 to 95% of my private lenders lend to me through their IRA, and all of them are with equity trust. Equity trust is, in my opinion, the biggest and the best in the country as far as self-directed IRAs. Even if you don't have one, you might want to jump on the seminar, guys, because you're going to want to learn this, because inevitably, if you're in the business long enough, you're going to be looking for private money. And a lot of private money comes from equity trust. So the more you can educate yourself on equity trust, the more intelligently you can then speak to potential private lenders that are with equity trust. I read a while back, guys, the person that stops learning just because they finish school is forever doomed to mediocrity. We always need to be advancing our knowledge, guys, and specialized knowledge in what I do. So I encourage you to get with Miss Terry, get on that list, and participate in these things, if nothing else, just for the education and or just the terminology that you'll pick up. So thank you so much, Miss Terry. Next on the agenda, we're going to bring up Joe Walters. He's going to talk about, hopefully, two things. As you guys know, the city of Shreveport is looking at doing a rental registry, where we got to register all of our rentals. So Joe and one of our other legislative liaisons are out front for us, battling this on our behalf, so he can give us an update on that. And he's going to talk very briefly,
Yeah, very briefly.
on Senate Bill 249.
Right.
So yeah, please take it away, sir.
Well, you know, we all have different functions on the board, and mine is basically trying to keep an ear to City Hall and also the state of Louisiana, you know, because they like to come up with laws that don't necessarily put us in good light sometimes, and these are a couple of them that we're going to be going over. I won't take up too much time. The one that I want to go over is from the state of Louisiana, so this is not local, but these are some proposals that were recently done, and it's called Senate Bill 249. Now, forgive me, because I had eye surgery last year, and my reading is not improved at all. As a matter of fact, it's gotten quite a bit worse after the surgery. You know? So I'm going to read this as it states. The proposed law declares that the policy to the state, oh my gosh, is to permit and promote the availability of shared housing establishments based on a social media that promotes the dignity, or get this, the dignity, individuality, privacy, independence, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, well, what does that mean? You know, that's what we've got to decipher. It basically boils down to three parts right here. One is the activities of daily living. They want to make sure that everybody that is leasing or renting properties have the ability to do all the daily activities. Now, how is that the responsibility of the landlord is the big question. Activities of daily living include eating, dressing, bathing, toiletry, and everything else. I'm under the assumption that basically it means that everything is functional in the facility that they're in so that they can perform these daily living activities. And then the next one is severe mental illness. And there's plenty of it out there, all right? Means a condition.
Some of it in here.
It means a condition that is characterized in the presence of a major mental disorder. I couldn't make heads or tails of what they're trying to do with this, to be honest with you. But I was assuming that it had something to do with assisted living, aspects of it, but we're not sure. And then the third is shared housing establishment. It means privately operating as a freestanding home or facility, and that 6 or more people that are not related to each other. It could be an Airbnb, or it could be, but anything. But it means you're not related to 6 people in one facility. All right, and what they'll do is they want to add a registration similar to what the local government here wants to do, is to add a separate registration, totally different from what we've seen here locally, that they're trying to do the same thing. And we want to oppose this, for good reason. But the law requires each owner of a shared housing establishment to furnish his name, address, and the whole 9 yards, and register for a fee with the state of Louisiana. We don't know how much that's going to be. This is just all up in the air. This is a brand new development. And really, to be honest with you, neither do they know what they really want to accomplish. They're just trying to, I guess, make things a little bit more fair for the tenant, but we don't know. But we know this, that it is on the docket, and they are reviewing it, and they're trying to get the details put into it, because the devil really is in the details in these things. So I won't take up any more of your time, Roger, but this is the one that's kind of hot on the press, so to speak, that we're paying close attention to. The second thing regarding the city, well, we're not right now, that has not moved an inch, okay? So it's in the municipal, oh my goodness, I'm having one of those moments here. It's a municipal, you know what I'm talking about, right? Almost. Yeah, MPC, there you go, thank you. MPC, thanks. Anyway, we're not moving on that yet. But that's about it right now. That's all we have to show. We just like to keep you informed. Things are, are always blooming out there politically. And the good news is we've got about 5 representatives on there that are voting no against this, and there's 4 that are for it so far. So we have a good idea, we have a good feeling that this is not going to pass. All right, so I just wanted to pass that on. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Walker. So, do y'all know how we know that came from the government? Because I ain't understand a lick of it. We don't understand it, the government must have put it together. And Joe, I'm glad, I'm sorry about your eye surgery, but I'm glad that it was eye surgery, because I thought you were winking at me.
Yeah.
When you walked up here, I kind of stepped to the back. Okay, I feel a little bit better now. Yeah, I may even step out from behind the podium a little bit. That's okay. Okay, guys, real briefly, just want to talk to you real briefly about membership dues. It's very dear to my heart. So as you guys know, we just went through an increase basically the first of the year from $52 a year to $120 a year. And that's a pretty good increase. We've had a little bit of pushback, not much, probably about that many people pushed back, but that many people are important to us. So I kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. One report was, guys, that's a 230% increase. And yeah, that's true. From 52 to 110, about 230.7% increase.
That's 32 cents a day, just so you know.
Thank you, 32 cents a day. And so, but the reality is, percentages are relative. They're relative to the base number. The reality of that number, guys, is we went from $1 a week to $10 a month, okay? So it's not that bad of a jump if you quantify it in dollars. So why did we go through that increase? Number one, it's been years since we've had an increase. That's not necessarily a good reason, but it's been many years since we've had an increase. Number two, guys, the club, we have expenses. We have professional fees, CPAs and bank fees and things like that. So we have expenses that we have to offset with this income. We also we use that money to generate revenue for additional items such as the cost to obtain our not-for-profit status so that we can join the national SBREIA, which is a pretty big deal. And our not-for-profit status is a 501c6. I think our cost was around $1,500 to $2,000, I think, just to make application for that, and now we're going to have national dues. But that kind of gets us on the national platform, so to speak, and we can attract additional speakers in. It provides us with the means to attract those national speakers. Some of them we pay. All of them will put up in a room and buy their meal, so those are expenses that we have. The guest speaker, typically, we buy their meal, even though no one's ever offered to buy my meal the few times that I've spoken. A little bit heartbroken over that. If you guys are eating, are y'all eating tonight?
Oh yeah, I had the filet of lobster.
I wasn't going to order, but I am now. Don't you dare pay that tab. Don't you dare pay that tab. The meal for the monthly speakers, it allows us to invest in things like CallFire. CallFire is a communication system where we can record a message and then blast it out. Whether it's an update on SB 249, an update on the rental registry, an update on membership, we need a vice president, we need a board member, different things going on. So it allows us to buy these software packages so that we can better serve you guys. So those are some of the reasons, guys, for the increase. So yeah, it is a $230% increase from $1 a week to $10 a month. So let me say a few things about that. If you're in real estate, or you want to be in real estate, and $10 a month is a little bit of a stretch for you guys, you probably need this club a little bit more than what you think, okay? So just take that for what it is. Moreover, if you're not receiving $10 a month in value, I personally, as your president, want to make sure that you at least receive $10 in value. Secondly, guys, when you come to these meetings and if you don't engage in the topic, the speaker, other members, suggestions and ideas, guys, you're not going to get any value. You have to give to a thing to get from a thing, to get value from a thing. We don't give to get, but you have to give to get. Okay, you have to give to get. So bring value, and you'll realize that $10 is a good value. And again, as your president, I take it as my duty to try and give you value for your money spent. So in the upcoming months, before our guest speaker comes up to the podium, I'm going to bring you guys a 5-minute bonus session, something I think will really, really help us out. And Miss Kathleen, like I said, I've got that fix and flip formula. I'd love to share it with you because you're interested in fix and flips. Guys, there's a wealth of information in this room, and if you have a question, ask. This brochure right here, there should be one of my cards in here, SBREIA cards, and on the back is my personal cell phone. Guys, if there's anything I can do for you personally, call me. I do real estate full-time every day, and I've got a great staff, so I have a really good amount of time. I'm happy to visit with you. Love talking real estate, right, Larry? Absolutely. Larry and I've got several good deals working. So, yeah, guys, please take advantage of that number and give me a call. So tonight, before we introduce our speaker, which we're tickled to have, I'm going to give us a quick 5-minute bonus session. Has anybody ever heard of a $10 house? Who would like to pay $10 for a house? $10. I'm not talking about a house that's worth $10. I'm talking about a big house for $10. Amen. You're going to love this. Who remembers the financial crisis of 2008? According to USA Today, the average American lost between 42 and 52% of their portfolio. You go to bed at night, you have a $100,000 portfolio, you wake up, it's worth about $48,000. $52,000 gone, poof, because of the market. So what happened was, it really wasn't the real estate itself. It was the mortgage-backed securities. So what happened was, all these subprime mortgages, the difference between a subprime mortgage and a prime mortgage, subprime, low income, insecure job, history of default, bad credit rating, loan close to the value of the borrower's home. These are all things that lenders were lending to people that had no business getting a loan. The lender knew they couldn't pay it back, but the floodgates were wide open. It was very, very easy to get a loan. The old saying goes, if you can fog a mirror with your breath, you can get a loan. In other words, all you have to do is be alive and you can get a loan. It was that easy. Would you agree, Angela? Angela was a mortgage broker back in that period of time. So there were all these loans going out. So a bank lends on mortgages, car loans, credit cards, okay? So they have these debts. They sell those debts to investment banks. These investment banks package up these different types of debts into what's called a CDO, a collateralized debt obligation. And then these investment banks sell to investors and investment firms these packages of CDOs made up of mortgages, car notes, credit cards, things like that. And this was one of the hottest commodities on the market. I mean, these things were selling like hotcakes. You couldn't produce enough of them. As soon as you put them on the market, they were being gobbled up because at that time it was a very, very strong economy. And so these are AAA rated packages. So everybody wanted it because it's good debt in there. Wall Street quickly ran out of these AAA packages, so they started sliding a few subprimes and a few not so good notes into some of these CDOs. And then it got to where the whole package was nothing but bad stuff, basically. But part of the group that bought these things, and I know you recognize these names, AIG, Lehman Brothers, they went down because of this. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, these are big, big investment firms that are buying these CDOs up because they're going to get a good return on their investment. So they started out as AAA credit-rated CDOs, and then they went downhill. So there was junk in these CDOs. But part of the fraud, the second phase of the fraud was these investment banks would take them to places like Standard & Poor's, Fitch out of England, and Moody's, and they would basically bribe them and give the packages a AAA rating. So the investors think they're buying AAA rated packages, but it's full of junk. So that was part number two of the fraud, and it was massive. It was so massive and wide scale. At the end of all this, not a single person went to jail. Not a single person even got a slap on the wrist because it was so massive they didn't know where to begin. In fact, if you like movies and like movies on finances, watch a movie called The Big Short. It's got Christian Bale, Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, really good actors. It's a great movie. It talks about this very thing called The Big Short. So they got these crap CDOs, AAA rated, and they were selling them all over the place. And then these mortgages began to fail because these people couldn't pay their loan. This mortgage failed, that mortgage failed. Before you know it, the whole CDO was full of junk and it failed. And so these big investors and investment banks lost all this money because they had bought these, what they thought were AAA rated CDOs, or tranches, if you want to use that word. And you remember the government came in, hey, these companies are way too big to fail. You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. So the government started bailing out these big name companies that we just put up on the board. So these companies actually went to a spigot, and that spigot was wide open from the government, filling their bucket up, getting all their money back. All the money they spent on these CDOs, they got it all back. So they're made whole. They're either going to the spigot or they're going to the ATM of the Treasury Department and getting all their money back. Some of these big companies even had the audacity to pay themselves major bonuses with this government bailout money. Can you believe they would do that? This money, they didn't really make a bad buy, but it was a bad product they bought. The government bailed them out and they paid themselves a bonus. I mean, it was horrible. It was really, really, really bad. So when these companies, these investment banks got this big lump sum of money from the government, all these mortgages that they had invested in, they got all their money back. Okay, they're made whole. But the bank still holds the mortgage. So now what's the bank doing now? They're trying to foreclose on the homeowner and take the property back so they can sell it and make even more money. But they've already been paid. Sometimes they've been paid 2, 3, and 4 times for the same CDO, for the same mortgage. That's just the efficiency of the federal government at work. We know how efficient they are. So they've already been paid. They've already got their money back. So there were certain years, around this time of year, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, leading up to 2008, certain lenders, not all of them, were some of this, it's not bad paper, it's just dirty paper, because they've already been paid, and now they're trying to collect and foreclose and get paid again. So they can't do that. They're not supposed to do that. So here's an example of a $10 house. And I say a $10 house, this is the deal that we're currently working. I pay $10. Anybody know what a subject to is? You buy a house subject to the underlying debt. They deed you the house, the debt stays in their name. Well, I had this guy deed me this house. It's at 2407 Arlington Place in Bossier. He lives in Memphis. Nashville, I'm sorry. So I paid him $10 for the deed. There's my $10. So he signed the deed over to me, so I now own the deed, okay? And this is a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 2314 square foot in-ground pool. Very nice brick home. Robert, this is over in your neighborhood, isn't it? Or your old neighborhood where you just moved from, yeah. Super nice neighborhood and off of Benton Road up in North Bossier. The loan originated in 2005. The lender was Wells Fargo. And this could be a $10 house. So now that I own the house, our job is to begin doing the research to verify that it is one of these bad tranches in these bad CDOs. And it looks like it is. So now we negotiate with the lender, their attorneys, and so there's some work involved. There's a little bit of litigation work involved, and we'll probably spend a few dollars doing it. But at the end of the day, if this is one of those houses that has been paid, that debt will be forgiven. I will own that house worth $235 I bought for $10. That's a $10 house. That is an amazing, amazing strategy. That's the kind of stuff in here that we like to share with our members. So the best way to do a deal like this is just get busy, guys. Set yourself in motion, start doing deals. If you run across something that originated in that timeline, one of these lenders, or if you don't know, take my number, give me a call. I can look it up and let you know if it's a bad debt home, potentially a $10 home, and I would love to partner with you and see if we can bring this into a reality.
Go.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
So guys, this is what it might look like for us. We're gonna spend $15 on the house fixing it up. It has a little bit of issues with the ceiling, not very much at all. It's got an in-ground pool. We're gonna drain it, clean it. So if we're successful, guys, we're gonna have $15,000 in this house, sell at least home for $249,900. We're gonna make $257,000 on the house we paid $10 for. Of course, we put $15,000 in it. Okay? Worst case scenario, if it's not a $10 house, if it isn't one in these bad tranches, which we're pretty sure that it is, we're simply going to pay in the arrears of 25, spend 15 on the house, so we're going to raise 40 from a private lender. We're going to take over the debt of 128 subject to, because he's already given it to us. So we're going to pay the 40 in, get it current, because it's 25 in arrears, spend 15 on the house. And the bank debt will go down from about 128 to 125, because some of that's going to be principal. So now we have 125 to the bank, 40 to the investor, sell it for $249,900. Worst case scenario, we're going to make $110,000 on that house. So either way, we're going to be in pretty good shape. But guys, there's a lot of these out there because there were a lot of bad loans made during that time. So again, the best way to find these deals is just to go out and get busy and do deals. Okay, there's really no way to identify it from the curb. There's no way to identify it any other way than just to get into it and start doing deals. But that's a $10 house. That's valuable information. What do you guys say? Yeah. That's a heck of a deal right there. $10 for that big, beautiful brick home. So that's just one of the things that I hope to add value to the group as your president. I want to ensure that you get $10 a month in value, okay? So I hope that helps a little bit. Now, I'm not sure why we have such a big crowd tonight. It's either because y'all heard I wasn't speaking or you heard Lee was speaking. But last month I was a speaker and we had 3 people here, so I'm pretty sure it's the latter. But guys, it is my honor and privilege to introduce my predecessor in this office, Lee Nugent, and he's going to tell us how he started, where he is now, with the help of his beautiful bride. The one thing I love about this couple, every time you see one, you see the other. And I love that. I told you guys that. I love that about them, and they are a team. And that's one of the reasons they've been successful. Behind every successful man is a precious, supporting, loving wife.
It generally rolls her eyes.
Generally rolls her eyes. But ladies and gentlemen, Lee Nugent.
So I don't know how I'm going to follow a $10 house. If you can't get $120 worth of value out of that, the door's right there.
Come on, brother, testify.
One more thing I'd like to point out: if you're sitting here and you're worried about $120, and I'm telling this to y'all on the way out. All right? I paid my dues for the year. Why? Because I feel like the content is still going to be valuable. Not to mention, guess what? Last I checked with my accountant, it's a tax deduction. So it's really not like it's going to be hurting you if you're generating any kind of income in this industry, right? There's a number of people in here that know me. You've been to my seminars before that I'll hold. You've
seen my talks online. So a lot of you have heard my background story. Here it is again, so just play on your phones or whatever you want to do while I cover that part. Back in 2009, we started, well, we actually got engaged in 2009. But before that, let me just tell you a little bit of where I was financially. Paycheck to paycheck almost describes what I was doing, right? It was more so like paycheck to payday loan to paycheck, right? And it was so bad that my credit score was a 450. Didn't know they got that low, but they did. And there was, I don't know, it was a month, 2 months after I met you, we were dating. My car, the engine just goes out. It was an old Dodge Stratus, the bumper was hanging off to begin with. I'm talking like it was glorious. So I ended up having her, she graciously co-signed for me at 30% interest on my vehicle. And once I started taking my finances a little bit more seriously because I didn't have a choice, she told me that if I'm going to get serious about us, I've got to get serious about myself, right? So, and I did. Over the course of the years, you know, we got there, we grew. I started to understand the concept of not spending $5 for every dollar you bring in. It's really simple once you start wrapping your head around it. That was kind of cool. And then in 2015, whenever I was in the middle of like really just being discouraged with a job that I had, I brought in a lot of money in sales for one of the companies I worked for, and I only got what's called a kicker or a spiff, if you're familiar with that in the sales world, to where it was like $50 for every client I onboarded. Well, I made them over $4 million, and other salespeople were getting 10%, and I'm sitting here thinking, it just don't cost out. So I started looking out, and I put my resume out because I've never been afraid to quit a job. I'll tell you that quick. No, I'm telling you, I'll go in there, and if they start getting sideways, I'm just like, hey, look, I was looking for a job when I found this one. So that was always just who I was. You know, other people, they love to saddle up to a job, and they're going to grind that out to retirement. My heart goes out to you and your patience. Good on you. But I can tell you that as that happened, I started just putting out my resume on Indeed in this company called Renatus. I think somebody said you bought into a national mentorship program, right? So Renatus is one of those. And they called me up, they said, hey, look, we want you to do sales for us and everything else. However, to get into the program, you need to buy the system so that you know what you're selling. And I thought to myself, I'm not a smart man, but that sounds a little pyramid-y. Right? So I started doing a little bit of research. I was like, all right, what are the reviews on this program? And this one guy, never met him, probably never will. It was just one of his reviews that says, this program is really good information, but it's nothing that you wouldn't learn at your local library for free. And that's when something just clicked. I'm like, man, I'll tell you what, I ain't going to the library, but I've got Google at my fingertips. So I just started Googling everything that I could. It was, I don't know, after a few months, I would come home, and I almost became obsessed in ADHD. It's called hyperfixation. You know, I mean, I'm sure that you understand that. That was really cool because after about 3 months of it, I finished this online course that I found from freedommentor.com. It's still free to this day, by the way, where it teaches you how to wholesale, the concepts, how to calculate ARV and everything else. And I looked at her and I'm like, hey, look, I think I want to take $1,000, buy some signs, and I'm going to put them in the ground, and I'm going to start selling real estate. And it wasn't quite that easy. So she told me, she's like, my wife Kathy, whenever I say she told me, hey, why don't we just go to the bank and see if they'll loan us some money? After I finished laughing about it, because the idea of me getting a bank loan was hilarious. I said, sure, why not? Well, we had this old LLC that I just sat there, we were going to do drop shipping, and again, ADHD, and that was just that shiny toy, but it sat there. I didn't do anything with it. I go to the bank, they look at it, they look at the LLC and see that it's seasoned and approved us for $150,000. And I went, okay, all right, well, yeah, I'll take it. And I did. So it's actually in April, will be our 7th year from our first purchase. So we've got about 10 days till we hit our 7th year anniversary. One of the first deals that we bought was a duplex in Highland, and we bought it for $35,000. It appraised for $53,000, and it was under market rents. So went in there, did that little bit of value add. Now that property brings us $1,100 a month because we just increased the rents again, and has been paid off for 4 years now. we've got another one that she found. We were looking in Highland again. And we had just came out of this one little triplex, and I'm talking like we had to walk over the holes in the floors. It was really rough. She walks out, sees this one across the street, and says, you know what? I wish we could just find something like that. It's so cute. And I was like, yeah, not in our budget. Well, my realtor at the time, now my business partner, Matt Stevens, he brings out his phone and he's like, you know, this realtor listed it incorrectly as a single family residential. It's actually a duplex. So we looked at it and they were asking $93,000 for it. And I ran the numbers, kind of found out a little bit of the motivation from the seller, that he was just tired. Like, he didn't like the tenant in the front. She was doing nothing but causing trouble, late to pay, always complaining, always asking for stuff. And yeah, he took 67 on that house. That house appraised for $104,000 the day that we bought it. And that's where I feel like we really started to kind of say, this might be the game for us. Well, I want to tell you that, and that was in 2015. So as I go through what I'm going to lay out for you, one of the things to keep in mind, I'm going to try to impart a few lessons that I've learned along the way. This one was, if you change your thinking, you change your will, right? Because the same thoughts get you the same results. And if you want to write that down, great. If not, cool, it's on you. Now, as we go into 2016, this is where, again, my business partner got wind of an off-market sixplex property. We bought it, and we were like, oh, this is nice, because she wanted $300,000 to sell it. We ended up settling it for $224,000. Not a bad gig, because the property was practically turnkey, oddly enough. Seller rented back one of the units from us for $800 a month for 6 months. So that was cool. And then we just go in there and we put each tenant in there for $500 a month, rolled it for a couple years, and ended up selling that. It was in 2017. We sold it after about 2 years. Made great cash flow, sold it for $300,000 for a $75,000 profit. And then we just took it, put it on her little duplex that she found to pay it off. So I'm not adverse to using debt. All right, I tell people, use debt, use it intelligently. I personally, we don't do the max cash out refi. We only refi what we have in a property. And then we pledge the excess equity up to 80% loan to value, if you're following what I'm talking about here, into a line of credit, so that we just have buying power. Why do I do a line of credit versus a max cash out refi? Because if you max cash out refi, you have to pay on that note every month. If you have a line of credit, you only pay on it whenever you're using the money. And then whenever you replenish it, you're back out from under the debt. A few reasons. One of them is 2020, we had a moratorium come into play, right? Y'all remember that? It was a lot easier for us to service $1 million in debt rather than $2 million in debt, whenever people weren't paying. That's one of the things that helped us kind of come through unscathed, along with pivoting a few other things. Now, just to kind of, I skipped all the way forward, but let's back it up. In 2016, we had our first flip. It was an accident. We had bought this property from foreclosure, right? And we put a roof on it, didn't really do anything else, slid a very nice tenant on paper in there, and about 2 months later, we're evicting that tenant and scraping just dried dog mess off the floor. I know y'all are about to eat, enjoy that, so you got mine to go on. But I tell you, once we got the place cleaned up, Matt, our realtor, now business partner, says, hey, look, the market's really good right now for selling something. So we bought it for 80. Well, after we put the roof on it, we were all in it for 80. Put a few thousand into it. I ended up fighting, a wasp nest. That was fun. So profit wasn't really there because it kind of taxed me a little bit. But we sold it for $135. 130? Okay, all right. So she knows. She sold it for $130. Made a nice little chunk of profit on it. And now all of a sudden, my focus is building up cash flow, right? I want to build up the cash flow. And now her focus is, no, I like making 40 grand real quick. So we're going to do this. Well, so we go and we find another one, jump right off into it, and that was our failure flip. We got out from under that one making $5,000 in profit after holding it almost a year, because we learned a lot of lessons. I learned how to manage contractors over that flip. I learned how to make sure that you inspect what you expect in that flip. And then also I learned a very valuable lesson about pricing on the market as a realtor in that flip. So apparently just because you think that the house is worth $120,000 doesn't mean that somebody's going to think that as well. So anyway, after about a year, we ended up cutting it down to about $80,000, made that little $5,000 profit, and went on about our day. Because I really do not like holding properties that are fully rehabbed. You know, I'd rather just take less, get it out of the way, because my rentals have a certain standard, and if it's been cosmetically rehabbed, generally they're not going to come to the rents that I want for. So anyway, that was 2016. And the takeaway on that was success is simple, but not easy. Now, wrap your head around that for a second and really understand what I'm saying. You can learn Mayo, right? So Mayo, the maximum allowable offer for a flip is 70% of ARV minus repairs. Very simple. 65% of the buyer's market. So if you know that, great, that's very simple. But it's not easy, because now you've got to find it, right? You've got to go out there, you've got to negotiate the deal, you've got to make sure your contractors keep you on budget, everything else. So that's really one concept that was hard for me to understand, but when it clicked, boy, did it click. Now, in 2017, and by the way, if you haven't followed, I'm giving you a 7-year timeline of where we're at. Spoiler alert, right? So we started to hit our stride. And whenever I say that, I'm talking like starting to become known in the community as being an investor, because thankfully my wife is amazing at keeping the social media going. I'll do a Facebook Live every now and then so people think it's me, but spoiler alert, she's really the one that runs the show. She does all the graphic design and everything else, which is why Roger was very much on point. That while you might see me here speaking today, it's because of her, right? So as we hit that stride, we were really just kind of picking up a few great properties. I picked up a $10,000 property, not a $10 one, but I did pick up a $10,000 property that we put, I don't know, $35,000 into. It makes us $900 a month on Section 8. And, I'm telling you, it was redone top to bottom. New roof, vinyl siding, everything else. Should be a good performer for at least another 10 years for us before we start putting out any kind of water heater replacements, you know how it goes. And I have to say that during that time, you know, we picked up that property, a few others, and we really focused on the solutions. You know, there's problems everywhere, but if you look for the solutions, well, that's going to separate you from the pack. I think it was like 2019. There's an investor in the room, and I'm not going to bring it up to rub it in or make any sore points, but sometimes by getting creative, you win deals. And I've legit won a house about $1 a day. Right? It's because knowing, I'm not going to maintain eye contact. But there was a foreclosure, and if you understand how some foreclosures work, an FHA foreclosure means that FHA will take the highest net bid to them. It can literally be $1. And anyway, we found this property. I bid it just a little bit and $1 on top of it. Next meeting, somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, did you get that house over on Malvern?" I said, "Yeah." "What'd you pay for it?" $15,501. And they just said, "You really beat me by $1." So it's a small world, you know, whenever you're in here. But know that getting the knowledge, and I don't want to get too far off track, but getting the knowledge of how, if you buy foreclosures, know how the foreclosures go. Know how the sales work. Make sure that if you're going to help somebody through a short sale, right, you're going to try to buy from a short sale. Understand that a short sale is not short. It's going to take sometimes 3 to 6 months, if not longer, before the bank finally does something. And that's largely dependent on the person listing that short sale, because they're not the ones touching the file every week. You're sitting here having to push it forward. And the lesson there, kind of back to the first one of, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Yes. Right? So if you start to identify, all right, there's an opportunity past this problem, but don't stop at the problem. You know, how do I get around it? In 2017, I did also get licensed. Now in 2018, that's whenever we started really starting to grow more, because we formed a real estate team, and we actually won, my goodness, we won number 5 in a 5-state region for like the most production, the most volume for that. And that was really cool because it gave us the experience. You know, at this point in my career, I've done a couple hundred deals, pushing towards 300. Now, not all as my production, right? But I still get to steal the experience from the creative deal structure of the other deals that we're a part of. And I will tell you that the part that led to that was a concept called time on task. Now, it's time on task. And there's a saying with it, right? So time on task will beat unused talent every time. So you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, somebody like me is going to come along and blow you out of the water. Because I can tell you right now, it's not talent that got us to where we're at. It's just hard work. You know, it's up at 3, up at 4, you know, go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know, whenever I'm up at 3, I don't use that time to just sit around or watch Netflix. I'm sending out emails. Look, let's get this done, get that done. Because what that does is that creates time on my day. When everybody else is up and working, guess what? I'm able to go out here and focus on other things. So now, around 10, 11 o'clock, once they've received my emails, they've responded with more questions, I'm having lunch. I'm grabbing my lunch, I'm responding to them. They have more working orders now, and I get to go on about my day and continue to build my business and my focus elsewhere. That's what's allowed us to grow a property management division. That's what's allowed us to grow a buyer's agent and looking for a listing agent so that we can continue to serve our community whenever we leave. And like I explained to people, just because we're leaving doesn't mean that we're not coming back. You know, I still have 40 properties here that I've got to make sure that, well, I also want to continue to purchase. So I can't just set it and forget it. Real estate is not like one of those new wave ovens, okay? You've got to stay on top of it. You've got to make sure that you're inspecting your properties, which, by the way, I hope that each of you that have properties at least do quarterly inspections. Please tell me that you are, for God's sake. Otherwise, you're in for a nasty, nasty surprise when the tenant finally moves out. Let's see. 2019, made more mistakes. You know, if you really sit down and talk with me one day, you'll realize I'm not a smart man. You know, I'm just very dedicated to falling forward. So whenever that happens, I just get back up and I say, okay, great, let's solve this. One of the examples is our Fairfield duplex. It was 2019. A guy approached me, said, hey, look, I've got your mailer. Let's talk. I'm interested in selling it. My eyesight's not too well, and I've been maintaining the properties myself. I go over there and walk the property with him. He's got a downstairs tenant, and this is South Highlands. He's got a downstairs tenant that he was getting paid $600 a month. The upstairs was vacant. He was just putting a few things in there for storage, had no real goal with it. So I'm looking at it, I run the numbers, and I told him, sir, I could give you $70,000 for it, and I could close in 5 days. You know, I understand it's not the offer that you might be wanting, but it's the offer that I've got for you. So he sits about it and talks. He's like, I was really hoping to get 100. I'm like, I'd love to give it to you, but I can't. You know, you see this, and this is wrong with it. It's simply numbers. I'm not trying to get over it. Well, whenever he finally said yes, man, I was rushed to that closing table. I called up the title attorney and said, hey, I'm dropping off the contract. Let's close it. Well, here's the problem. It was in a flood zone. And I called the day of closing to buy my insurance. And they're like, yeah, so are you going to have your flood premium on here? I went, I'm sorry? Because this is South Highlands, right? So what's one of the key words about high land that you would think it's not in a flood zone? And normally it wouldn't be. But whenever they did the study, the elevation study, they stopped at about 200 feet short of the property and just blanket labeled it flood zone. So that sucked. Because that was going to be about $300 a month just for the premium. Yeah. Well, we talk about it, and thankfully we had gotten to a position to where we didn't need to refinance the property because I wasn't going to put debt service on it to kill the cash flow with that. Well, we put a tenant downstairs immediately for $800 a month. So we just increased the rent by $200 a month on that unit. The upstairs, we just rehabbed the property. She had been hearing about, Kathy, had been hearing about Airbnb. She was curious about it, said, you know, I'd like to furnish it and just kind of see what that does. Man, that was a game changer. You know, because I can tell you that once we ran it about a year as Airbnb on the upstairs, and it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, rented for $95 a night.
On average.
Yeah. So rents for $95 a night on average. It makes us about $2,400 a month, $2,700 a month on average, right? It's not bad. So what did we do when that lease came up downstairs? So we graciously exited the lease, right? But now it makes us about $5,000 a month on an investment that we were $105,000. And it's really, it comes down to, you know, you've got to make sure that you stay solution oriented. And that's where we've booked a number of these wins. Yeah, you can find the challenge and you can give up at the first sight of resistance, but that's not what's going to make you money. You know, and obviously it's not about the money, it's about the freedom that the money provides.
Right.
Right? You know, we can all agree on that, right? So right there, as I made those mistakes, it was extremely frustrating, but once you learn to keep your emotions between the lines, well, all of a sudden you can see things a lot more clearly, right? 2020, I'm sure we all have fond memories. This was definitely a defining year for us, mainly because after the Fairfield purchase and everything else, we're sitting here just like, all right, let's keep on going. Then we go into a lockdown. Then we go into a moratorium. All right, so now we've got a few tenants that aren't paying rent. Now, the ones that they told us legitimately, hey, look, this is where it's at, they communicate with us, guess what? We didn't evict a single one of those. There was one tenant already on our radar that we were about to serve when all this goes down. They got 3 free months of rent and a $1,600 a month rental off of us. And then whenever they left us with about $5,000 worth of damage. So that was fun. However, I will tell you that a strong insurance policy will help you with those kind of things. I've had insurance pay me $15,000 on one tenant destroying a unit, and I was the one that drew the pentagram. Yeah, that was cool. I've had people, like, there was one really special guy that I evicted him because I just spent $60,000 on this property, and he was just smoking in it. His mom was over there chain smoking, sitting around, ashes on the floor, cigarette butts on the floor. So needless to say, I wasn't the kindest about that. We went through the eviction and ended up getting him out, but when we walked through, he wrote, number one, a letter to his mommy on the wall that says, hey mom, I'll be down at the shelter, blah, 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 blah. And then it even says, what is it, destruction delete or something like that. So, it was one of those, like, I really wish I had done more TikToks at the time. That would have been on there, I'm telling you. Because, man, they just made it personal, you know? And that's one thing that you learn is don't make it personal. Anyway, that was fun. But we, through the pandemic, you know, we had the moratorium. Can't evict anybody. Courts are closed. Well, when the courts open back up, moratorium. Can't evict anybody for non-payment of rent. Well, that small pivot, right, gave us the opportunity and the leverage to get the non-performing tenants out or to get them a little bit more pressure to perform. Number one, every lease that we have to this day is now month to month. It's in writing and I can give you a 10-day cancellation and you have to be out by that time, or I'll simply evict you for possession of the property because we no longer have a rental agreement in place. I'm not talking about any non-payment of rent. No, I've got a collection company for that. So I will come for my money, but today I'm coming for the property, right? Also, we looked for the lease violations. And I'm not talking about mild lease violations, I'm talking about gross lease violations. People that are there that are not on the lease, that are registered, pets in the property, not keeping the property up. Those are where we applied that leverage to have those tenants leave. There's only been one, well actually, my cash for keys offers are a little bit differently. Have you heard about cash for keys? It's where, hey look, you're a nuisance, I really want you out of the property, I'm going to give you X amount of money to leave. Well, my cash for keys is simply, I promise I won't come after you. Yeah, I promise not to put this on your background. I promise that I will not continue with the eviction. You leave, you turn in the keys, and you leave it in a good rentable condition, and they never do, by the way, don't be surprised. That now I can take the property back, clean it up, re-rent it. I've never had to give money on that. Thank you. But I think that a lot of it is learning to be creative, right? And I'm going to start running through this. But one of the things, the lessons that I learned there was focus on the plan, not the problem. The problem is the moratorium. the plan is to still get possession of my properties from non-performing tenants. And that's what allowed us to get there, right? Just to have that curiosity mindset. 2021, that was a year for us to where we've grown and we've shrunk. We got up to like 45 units, and now we're down to 33, 35. Quite simply because we're taking advantage of the market. On the properties that we see we can get retail for, like our Broadmoor stuff, we're selling. Because I feel like the property taxes are a little disproportionate in Broadmoor compared to other areas like Highland. You know, there's a diminishing return, right? If you follow this. I can rent a property for $1,300 in Broadmoor to $1,500 in Broadmoor, and I'll pay $2,000 to $2,500 a year in taxes. Or I can go over here to Highland and I can get a duplex. I'll pay $800 for the year, and I'll make the $1,300 a month. So at that point, I'm like, all right, I like my Class C because so long as you understand the tenant profile in wherever you invest, you're going to be able to be successful. But one of the other tips I would tell you is if you can't identify with the tenants that you're renting to, and I grew up extremely poor, so I'm able to identify with people like that. So if I can't identify with a tenant, I'm not going to rent to them, all right? Because you don't know what they go through, what their struggles are, what their mentality is, the mindsets that they have on finances, and how their finances work. Like I told you before, I lived paycheck to payday, loan to paycheck, and so do a lot of those tenants. So being able to be flexible with them and not just militant about getting them out of the properties, those are key. Now, also you have to draw a line whenever you feel that you're being taken advantage of, and you have to stand that line. But anyway, we've been selling those. The lesson that I really kind of drove, or the principle that I had last year, was not to take movement for achievement. Who cares if you have 500 properties that get you $1 a month positive cash flow? I don't need that kind of headache. Give me 5 properties with $500 a month cash flow apiece. So we started really just identifying our strongest performers and, you know, using the money from the sale of the retail to pay off our debt. You know, and I hope you don't mind me sharing it. So we, see, it was 2020, just before everything went sideways. We had just moved about $1 million over to Bank of Montgomery. And we had pulled that over and said, all right, great, this is it. I had a bit of a hidden agenda. My agenda was to take it and pay that thing off as fast as possible. So we took some of our high equity deals, paid it off, and now we're down to like 370 and change. Just because you find the properties, roll it off, get it stripped down. And then our goal is within the next, I'd say 3 to 5 years to be completely debt-free on our existing portfolio, which would give us about $30,000 a month in cash. So that's kind of the goal, right? Is I don't mind leveraging debt, but I want to eliminate it as quickly as possible. And I would encourage you to, use the debt to the best of your ability as well. Everybody's got their own strategy, their own risk tolerance. For me, I just want to use it long enough, right? And then all I'll do is I'll secure a line of credit against my paid-for properties to have my buying power. Now that we've got the buying power, we do private lending. So I have a $20,000 minimum. I've got a $200,000 max. It's transactional lending. I joke about it as being legalized loan sharking, because I'm serious. It's 8%, and it's quick money. You get up to a week to give me my money back, or I'm coming for the house. That's where I also feel like this one talk that I watched the guy give one time. He says that everybody talks about you want a stream of income. He's like, no, I want a river. And off of that river, I want my streams to come from that river because it helps you. And that's why we've stayed so close to real estate. I understand there's people out here making a killing in crypto, Forex, everything else, right? So, they are just, wow, not my thing. And yeah. But it's not my thing. So I'm going to encourage you on the sidelines to build your wealth however you do. And I'm just going to stick in my lane to what I know, and I'll grow as I can. So that was 2021, where you don't mistake movement for achievement. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Right now, what I'm focusing on in 2022 is peace over profit. That was a driving factor for us. We decided that we're going to be moving to Florida because, number one, she's always enjoyed the beach. Well, I don't know about y'all, but there ain't really many of them around here. So we started talking about, all right, well, if we're going to move, and in the catalyst, and I believe I even told you this earlier, it was that day back in October, I want to say it was October, this 13-year-old kid got killed in a movie theater, South Shreveport. I'm sure y'all remember or heard about it. And I woke up, I was drinking my coffee, and I told her, I said, this isn't for us. You know, because I can't imagine trying to go to a movie, right? You're sitting there holding your popcorn, juggling that, you drink, you're trying to put your change in your pocket, and a stray bullet catches you in the chest. Because a couple other idiots down here were arguing about something. So I told her this just isn't for us. So we started talking about where we wanted to go. It was either Natchitoches, which is my hometown, and that's a hard pass, or Monroe, which is her hometown, and she really didn't want to go to Monroe. So we had family down in Naples, Florida. We started looking at it, and I've only been to Naples once before we made that decision. Yeah, that was a big move, right? So, but I knew that that's where we see opportunity. And where I would encourage any of you, build your business around it to where you've got the flexibility to one day say, you know what, this isn't for me. And then you've got the flexibility to go. One principle that I've always lived life by is that, you know, if you don't like the view, it's on you to change it. There's nothing planting you in that ground to where you can't move. So I feel like I wouldn't be practicing what I preach if I didn't take the steps whenever I said that it was time to move. But to recap, for any property management clients in here, anybody, I want you to know I've got Julie as my buyer's agent. She's killing it. I'm hiring a listing agent. So nothing's really going to change. We're still going to be flying back here about every 6 to 8 weeks for, you know, a week, 2 weeks at a time. So this isn't like it's our last meeting by any stretch. It's just going to be a little bit less frequent. And I would like to just kind of give you a few concepts in closing that don't really tie to the timeline. And if you haven't gathered, I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare this, so there's no slides, nothing fancy. But if you own everything, and I want you to read a book if you get so inclined. It's called The 10 Pillars of Wealth, and that's by Alec Becker. And in there, one of the pillars of wealth is to own everything, which means that, quite simply, you might not be responsible for the situation that you're in, but you're responsible to get out of it. All right? And there's also a book called No Excuses by Brian Tracy that really helps you practice that. It's the art of detachment. So where you can really detach from things and kind of remove your ego from situations so that if somebody cuts you off in traffic, you don't care as much because now you've developed empathy to say, well, maybe they've got a medical emergency. Because I know the first thing that runs through our minds when somebody cuts us off is, you're a jerk. Why would you do that to me? Well, whenever you start removing me from the equation, well, it offers a little bit of grace to people. I think that grace is really important in business because the times do come when you've got to stand really tall and you've got to stand hard with everything, right? You've got to be convicted. But you also would be well served to learn when to extend some grace to people too. Learn to respond rather than react. God, I'm still working on that one. Because again, it's the reaction, right? But if you learn to respond, that allows you to get creative, to provide solutions so that you can create, well, a business that you enjoy rather than something that you're actually just held hostage to. I would encourage you to, if you would like to learn more about that, there's a book called The Daily Stoic. It's just little one-page little thoughts about Stoicism, where it's just essentially you don't get caught up in the highs and the lows of life. You just kind of stay even keeled. And then also, one big part, because my wife and I, we started this with $6,000, right? Everything that we've got. And it was a legit 6K, because that's really all we had. But anyway, you got to get lucky. And I know some people are like, well, you can't just get lucky. Yeah, you can. There's a book called The Luck Factor. Check into it. One of the principal concepts of that is that the people that get lucky are the ones that are open to it. Like tonight, you came to this meeting, right? You paid $120 to join this club. You come out here to take advantage of what everything is here to offer. Not just the food. Food's good. But who knows? You might have found that deal that Larry's got. You might have just made 50 grand or more, right? Because I'm looking at it. We've really got to understand that luck happens to the people that get out there and achieve it. I don't know a single person that ever, well, I was going to say I don't know anybody that gets lucky by sitting home watching Netflix, but it depends on the definition of lucky. So, you know, strike what I said about that. But you gotta create your own luck, right? And to be out there and have the access to people and to network, that's what's really going to make that luck happen for you, because I can tell you that, and I mean, this is almost embarrassing, I haven't made a prospecting call in my real estate business in almost 2 years. Everything that I've done has come to me because, well, I make a point to be out there so that people know, Lee, he's a real estate guy. Call him, see if he'll buy it. Damn right, Lee will buy it for the right price. Right? So I'm just telling you that if you feel like you're a lucky person, great, keep doing it. If you feel like you're not lucky, check out the luck factor and start seeing where you can change your patterns, your habits to become more lucky, right? And that's really all I've got. So I wish y'all the best. I'll be seeing y'all around. My number's still the same. So if there's anything that I can help you with, still, just call. All right? Oh man, I told you don't make me cry.
I told him he was going to honor him. He said, I don't want you to do that because I don't want to tear up and not let people know I'm as tough and rugged as I look. So did you guys notice he mentioned at least 4 books? Okay, he's always continuing his education and his knowledge, guys. You always got to be expanding that. The cool thing about reading, guys, it's like swimming. When you swim, you work every major muscle group and cardio. It's great for the body. When you read, it does the same thing for the mind. It expands your vocabulary, makes you a more interesting person, and you learn. So read, guys. Read and study, especially in your business.
Just in my defense, it's all audible. So I mean, let me tell you, it's $14.95 a month. You get a credit. And
Audible books are the best.
Yeah,
Books are the best.
They're strong.
So I often wondered why you married him, and so now we know it's not for the money.
No, it's not.
It must have been the looks. Now I know why you guys are always together.
Yeah.
Because the bumper fell off and you don't have a car anymore, so he can't go anywhere without you. Here I was thinking it's love, you know.
Well, you've seen that meme, right? So, you know, that's why it's a significant other. Sign if I can. So,
Significant sign if I can.
Yeah, she was there.
She co-signs.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, listen, guys, we do want to honor Lee. He's been a valuable member. He served, you know, as a really wonderful president. I've had one interaction with Lee on the deal, and the seller flat out lied to Lee. And Lee handled that with immense integrity. So I fell in love with that guy at that. I said, that's a good man right there. He has immense integrity. Integrity isn't something you talk about. You either have it or you don't. He has it. So we're awful grateful for him. And so we have a gift, 2 gifts. We have some wine, hey. and we have a little check in here. So just be warned. If you count the zeros on the right side of the decimal, this is a 5-figure check. Hey. So be sure and count those zeros on the right side of the decimal. But this is just our way of saying thank you guys. We love y'all. We're going to miss you. We're glad you're going. I mean,
yeah.
We're glad you're going because now the rest of us maybe could get some deals. You know, it's going to create a vacuum. So if you can't make it back for 3 or 4 years, that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee and Kathy Nugent.
I'll start crying now.
I don't do it. I'm biting my cheek.
One of my favorite things to say, and no one can say it like Matthew McConaughey. All right. One of these days I'm going to get it down. Next month, our speaker is, Brother Marcus, tell us who you got coming in for us.
It will be several members of the City of Shreveport from Property Standards and possibly someone from the Metropolitan Planning Commission. We've been working, trying to get them here for the last couple of months, and they finally returned the call after a little bit of harassment in emails. So, so we should see them next month.
Good deal. Even though there's a couple of them we want to, you know, we're going to be nice and respectful and love on them. And then the month after that,
Pat.
Miss Pat has got a guest coming in for May. Miss Pat, you want to tell us who that
Direct
will be?
Title Company, and the two of them will be coming and just talking about the title experience.
Durant Title, we're familiar with Durant Title. We've used them a couple times. A very professional firm. I think Andy Durant is the attorney over that group. But the two ladies are coming in.
Yes.
Guys, you may think title companies or title is a boring issue, but it's exceptionally important. They serve two functions. One is to facilitate the closing. The other one is to make sure that you're buying something that's got good title and they offer insurance. So that's something that we all need to be here and pay attention in. Other than that, guys, any questions, comments, anything we want to add or anything at all? Yes, ma'am?
Just if you think of a topic pops into your mind, you'd like to find us a speaker, because just send it to SBREIA@gmail. SBREIA@gmail, and we'll respond. Any questions, same thing.
Yeah. Guys, we solicit, we covet your help, your suggestions, so you got to give to get. So we want you to give to us so that we can give back to y'all. Anything you need? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Nancy.
We need to talk about VP.
Yes. We have a vacancy on the board. We're looking for a vice president or a president. I'll serve second chair. So anyone, guys, that wants to serve, the pay is not that great. The benefits aren't that great. But hey, it's still a fun group, fun group to be associated with. So think about that, sleep on it, pray about it. If you'd like to serve in that capacity, we would absolutely love to talk with you about that. And of course, you get a seat on the board, which comes with a free meal every month. So hey, it's kind of hard to
You
beat
can
that.
self-nominate by sending an email to SBREIA.LA.org.
Thank you, Nancy, for that reminder. Anything else, guys? Let us know what we can do for y'all to serve y'all, okay? Thank y'all for coming. Be prepared for the bad weather tonight. Very good to see you, brother. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I need to give that back to you. Oh, how was it? Congratulations.
Yeah.